Hello, hello, hello. How are we doing, folks? We should be just logging on now and seeing how things are working up. We're running a bit late. Which is the last thing we need to be doing. Hey, there's an Emmy. How are you? Just got a message from Bizzle. I was being very tardy. My apologies. There were some technical issues. How are we all doing? And can we hear me? Which should obviously be a good sign. Yeah, we're good. Okay, that's good. That's good. Now, what I'm worried about is that I get double sound when I connect up the camera. Oh, you're not well still, honey. That's not good. That is not good. So let me know if this is doing double sound. It shouldn't be. There shouldn't be any sound coming through the camera. It should be just coming through the laptop itself. It's slightly vexing if it is. This is part of the technical issues that I was sorting. Because I come straight from work. Hey, Corvus. Well, thank you for joining us. Oh, and mascara. Yeah, today I'll be painting a mouse. This traditional grey mouse is quite boring. We're going to jazz it up. Here's one I did earlier. It's very similar. Um, I have a sound effect on the stream now. I actually can't hear this because I haven't got it set up straight. But let's see if this works. Hopefully, folks can actually hear that and it makes some sense. No effect. Oh, I shall have to work it. That worked in testing. Damn it. It worked in testing. we will have to come back to that and give it a go. Oh, I thought I had that working. I thought I was genius. Right. Today we will be mostly painting a giant mech. Um, we might do something more with our smaller mechs, our BattleTech mechs. So that we've still got these guys. They haven't progressed anymore since, but I think the effect. I think it's going to happen once a minute. That might be why it's saying out of stock. I'm not sure. I'll have a chat with that later. I'll talk with my amazing mod who actually knows about these things. Um, yeah. So the plan today is to do some more to start the freehand on this one. As you can see, it's Twinsy here. Actually has a lot of freehand. This one is sadly lacking. So yeah, so we're going to try and match them up a bit. Their bases are very similar now at the moment. We do need to clean up around the edges here, but that's not too unusual. I don't think I've cleaned up around the edges on anything in this army yet. I think I'm going to wait till they're all finished and do a very satisfying kind of run around the rim of all of them. How is Mask Era? Those you don't know, there's still a fan club for the old Mask cartoon, which I keep hearing rumors about having a comeback, but I've yet to see any of them actually happen yet. I've seen someone do some fun live action footage of it. That was good. More of that would be good. And now we just need to break out our heavy metal paintbrushes. You don't need a comeback. Don't call it a comeback. I've been here for years. Alright, so we're going to go with a Series 7 Mark 1 Fib. So my plan here at the moment, is this big empty space here. That actually used to have an Aquila on it, and I actually carefully shaved that down and tried to get it as flat as possible. You can see kind of the light catches it. There's actually a few different points where it's not exactly flat, but it's flat enough for my purposes. And what we're going to do is we're going to try freehand a big skull on here, particularly because I like the idea that if that moves, it kind of looks like it's talking. Hello, do you serve the Emperor? An Aquila is what's called a two-headed eagle. It's one of the symbols of the Imperial people in Warhammer 40k. So it's a two-headed. Yeah, it is. It's definitely ripped off, and it's been used with a number of people soon. The Emperor said, "Knock you out. I'm gonna knock you out." I don't know too much LL Cool J, but what I do know is stuck in my head forever. I don't know if that's the direction I'm going to take the channel in, though. But yeah. So when I'm doing freehand, I often paint out something beforehand. Get a little piece of scrap paper, and I've done that in this case. Painted out a skull roughly that size. Unfortunately, I have now lost that piece of scrap paper. But it's a good idea to kind of just get something roughly the same size, paint it out, and test it. And that way, when you actually come to do it again, it's just a case of repeating it as opposed to trying to do it first time, which can make a horrible mess out of things. I think I'm going to have to just do my Patreon is just going to have to be me doing LL Cool J. Although I don't think I can really do him that much service. How is everyone today? Are we getting through our working week? Hope people have got good lunchtime. Hey, it's Morbo. Is that going to work for Morbo though? Morbo actually did the sound effect for us, but I tried to put it into the system myself, which is possibly where it's fallen down. Yeah, so I'm gonna have to work out from that. Oh, I was so disappointed. It's a really good sound effect. No one else try do it. I don't know how to give back people points or anything like that. So don't do anything with it yet. We'll work on it. We'll work on it. I've got a half day today, so once I finish up the stream, I'm going to do that. Right, so we're going to be putting a skull on the front of this. I've been continuously licking my paintbrush, and it's going to be quite stylized. So it's not going to be anatomically correct because we're playing Warhammer 40k. I mean, there's a couple of orc skulls on the side of this. We're not really worried about being anatomically correct. Is that close enough to the screen there? I'm going to go in a pair of high cheekbones. I'm just going to try and match that on the other side. I immediately go quiet as I start trying to concentrate. Anything could be coming out of my mouth by this stage. I should just make everyone who follows my chat into a mod. Just let them all do it. Moderate themselves. Let the masses moderate themselves. Start our curve in here. Bizzle, the non-moderator on this channel, is the person who knows how to actually do it. So we're not worried about filling things in yet. We just want to try to line everything up. And I'm not looking for asymmetry on this. I'm looking for a bit more symmetry than that. But we're just looking to get the rough idea in. I don't need to be Da Vinci on this. And because this is such a big area to do it in, you're going to want to do it in a few layers. If we try blocking a large area just entirely with one color, especially a light color, it's going to come across quite grim. Hey, the scanner man! Thank you for signing up. And I actually got a little notification when that happens, which I'm surprised. I didn't think I actually would do that. So a happy little skull with some happy little teeth. Suspiciously bigger teeth on the outside edges. Obviously, real skulls have a lot more teeth, but no, we don't need to go with reality. So we've got to block in a couple of eyes and the nose. It's very easy to kind of get the idea of when you're freehanding stuff that you want to go to the exact shape. With something like this, you actually want to go a bit bigger. This is going to be the outside, so we want the area inside this to actually be the nose ridge. So we only want a small little area to do it. And we can always come back and widen that with black later if we want to. And for the eye sockets, they're not actually as round as people generally tend to make them out to be. They're more rectangular, in my thoughts. Okay, so that's given us a general idea of what we're going to look like. Now we can just start kind of trying to fill it in a bit. This paint isn't actually even watered down at the moment. I could possibly do with a bit of water to help it flow a bit. Not too much. We don't want it to go all over the place. Yeah, I followed some YouTube advice on how to add in custom sound effects, and thought I had done everything correctly. And I went and did the test thing. It all seemed to work, but we'll have to look at that, or maybe I just haven't turned it on, or something like that. Something to work on for the next day. Another thing we have to remember is this isn't going to be this thing's final form. So even as we're looking at it and we're putting in the details, everything can be modified. People get too worried and hung up on, oh no, I put some paint in the wrong spot and that's it. Don't worry about it. Everything can be moved, everything can be painted over. You know, if the paint's too thick, we can just scratch it off and start again. There's no worry about these things. Ultimately, it's painting toy soldiers. When it comes down to kind of art in general, it's all fairly subjective, isn't it? What I like and what you like might be two entirely different things. And that's okay. That is okay. Do I have a favorite color I like to work with? No, I actually have the exact opposite issue. As in, I will change a lot. I'm very much a hobby butterfly when it comes to painting models. I've actually been remarkably resilient when it comes to painting these models because I'm trying to be consistent on stream, painting the same sort of things multiple times. Whereas normally I might have moved off to something else. The one thing, probably the purple is the main thing that appears on a number of my miniatures. I'm a fan of purple. No idea why. It's just one of those things. So, do you think he should have a lower jaw, everybody? So we can make him talk? What's the colour you have to use the most that you hate, Bizzle? It also might be the range of paints you're using. They can make a big difference. I know some people stick to one paint range or the other. Emperor's Children pink. So it's a Games Workshop paint, is it? The pink I regularly use is from Army Painter. It's that Toxic Boils. That might be worth a shot. Because that seems to cover in one go. Games Workshop used to do one called Tentacle Pink. And that was that covered things quite quickly as well. There wasn't too much stress on that. They did a contrast pink. There you go. Didn't know that one. I'm not normally great at symmetry, but when I'm holding the holding the model at an angle so the camera can see it, I'm kind of lean to one side to go around the camera, I tend to get even worse, it seems. Doomfire Magenta. That's a unique name, isn't it? Doomfire Magenta. Realized where things were looking so weird on my screen because I wasn't actually I wasn't in the mod view. Individual teeth are fairly hard to do on a model like this, because the sheer amount of teeth that would actually be involved is ridiculous. But you just do them a little flatter at the top. Fatter, not flatter. And it helps. Listen, Error, if you're getting the results you want out of it, that's the important thing. I wouldn't worry any more about that. Let me give them kind of sockets for the teeth to sit. Yeah, so the chin needs some reshaping. You know, modern cosmetic surgery, we can reshape chins. Terribly unprofessional painter, because I haven't even actually managed to clean my paint since the last session I've done. Which wasn't on camera, I was doing some other work. But yeah, had issues setting everything up to get it up on time today. And the paint water change was part of that prep, and it fell by the wayside. So what are we thinking, chat? How's that skull coming in? Do we look suitably grim dark enough? I think it needs a name. The skull's name is Narcissus. It was one of my favourite skulls to carry around. He's so vain, he's painted on the front of a dreadnought. Trevor's another good option. Trevor's the sort of name you expect to find on a rattling scout or something, isn't it? Or halfling. You'd love to them just called. What's your name? I am Lord Balthazar the Betrayer, this, that, and the other. What are your name? I'm Trevor. I'll just work around the back. Don't mind me. I don't know what everyone's getting so excited about. All seems very simple. Why don't we all just get along? Right, my name's Trevor. Big Trev. There used to be a comic called Big Trev. 2000 AD, I think it was, that comic. So just while we've still got some spare paint available, because due to dropper bottles, I've put out far too much paint again. I'm just going to do some highlighting on the skulls. Now, so you've got two choices when it actually comes to filling in the eyes of this big skull here. We either go with black to show that there's nothing in there, or we can go with kind of a brown, because there should be something in there. So when you think about it, when you look at a skull, there's the eye sockets. They're not empty. There is something inside there. So it wouldn't be automatically black. So here I'm just trying to paint some of the highlights where the light would catch things a bit more. But if you're doing kind of competition standard minis, you look into kind of the composition and how things would go and how this, that, and the other. But in these, we just need to pick a few places that we think it would suit. Don't need to worry about that much. Yeah, big Trev. So I think we've got our skull on there. We're going to probably do some flames on the sides here, to either side, because otherwise it's looking a bit bone central at the moment. Don't quite want that. That being said, I do have a bunch of this paint still with me. So we could do more bones. Move his hand up out of the way there. Just going to put a nice thigh bone. Just on the armor plate there. Can't remember the name for the thigh bone now. And I was just watching an episode of Bones where they probably mentioned it about twice. So we're going to have a race between my two mods. So between Morbo and Emanog, who are both streamers and stream content that I like enough to actually watch myself. Femurs, that sounds about right. +1 internet points for Bizzle. So we're going to see out of Emanog and Morbo which one can shout out the other's channel quick enough, because I know they won't shout out their own channels. Oh, Emmy destroyed him. Morbo's off in the loo, wondering what's going on. As I said before, never be afraid to turn the miniature upside down to get a better view of what you're meant to be doing. Made you come here under pain of death. Well, I'm glad people are being threatened to come here. I hope it's slightly better than Pain of Death. I hope you enjoy yourself. No pressure. If you don't enjoy yourself, send a bad report back with Emmy and Bizzle. But welcome in. Oh, Emmy, did you figure out in your poll in the end what game you're going to play next? I think it hadn't been decided by the time I needed to check out and run off and do some work. It's almost like your people want to terrify you. Do you know what, Meatball? I love to watch people who know what they're doing painting wise as well. And when I find some, we can watch them together. When you're using a small amount of paint on your brush, you should wash it regularly because it dries off. You start losing your tip pretty quickly if it dries off. I should have asked Scanner Man for some X-rays of people's bones. Would have made these much more scientific, rather than me kind of trying to guess what a kneecap looks like. Yeah, I tend to raid people who do some good painting. So if you want to hang on for that, Meatball, we will get there. Plenty of time. Yeah, the important thing is everyone paints at different levels at different times in their journeys, so it's not something to kick yourself about. And I say that as somebody who actually occasionally kicks myself about my level of painting as well. So, have I heard of zombies? No, those like zebra zombie babies. They could be zambonis. Yeah, zombies could be the babies of a zamboni. For those of you who know what that is, very accomplished miniature painter. She'd probably make me sad to look at her then, going around being all talented. God, just because they put in years of practice honing their craft. Do they stream on the Twitches? If they do, we will have to have a look. I've just got Hello Cool J lyrics running around my head. The problem is I don't know enough LL Cool J lyrics to actually do much on that. Okay. There's a bit of a left leg worked in. So this is what's called a Redemptor dreadnought. A big stompy dreadnought. So inside there's the remains of a warrior who got shot up too badly to actually keep living by himself. So they basically put him inside this life support machine. Then they put the life support machine in a giant stompy robot so they can keep fighting. And then at that stage, I decide that's not grim dark enough. I decide to paint flames and skulls over it, like it's a 90s hot rod. Possibly even just a modern day hot rod, to be honest. I don't think hot rod fashions have changed that much. But yeah, there's a particular group of these space marines called the Legion of the Damned who are all about flames and skulls and are possibly space ghosts. And I figured that was over the top enough for me to actually paint a bunch of models on. So you've got that one. And then his fully painted brother looks like that. I said a little bit over the top. But you know, if you compare that to one of the guys on foot, that's the size we're talking about. So you know, it's a big stompy mech. Who doesn't like a big stompy mech? You know, I'm all about that big stompy mech life. You know, everyone digs giant robots. Yeah, so those of you who are new to kind of watching me paint, you will see that I occasionally just paint my my left thumb. There is an actual reason to me doing this, though. It's if you have too much paint on the tip of your brush, and you want to make sure that you got less paint there. You got to put it off somewhere, and some people use a palette. Some people use something like a kitchen towel or stuff like that, kitchen roll or something like that. But kitchen roll tends to absorb the moisture off things. My palette's already painted enough, so I just tend to use my thumb, just the tip. Well, Bizzle, you're not around for me to slap my tip on, so I've got to actually clean it off this way. Because the last thing you want to do is have a... Don't clip that. The last thing you want to do is have a dirty clogged up tip. Makes it impossible to pull straight lines. Can you imagine that being the only clip my channel actually has? It's just not a great start. Here you go, it's got some little toesies. Old Narcissus has some toesies. And so we'll be going back over them with some shading once the bone is dry, so we can actually get a kind of the older desiccated look on it, because the last thing you want it to do look like it's bright bone. Oh goody, you both did it. I've heard that about you, Meatball, that you're a mucky pup. Airbrushes elude me for anything more than base coats. See there, dangerous minds think together. The two of them were off clipping at the same time. Clipping the hell out of each other they were. So we can see here where we've actually put bone on here before. We've given it the wash, and now we can try highlight back up to some of that. Yeah, you are both terrible, but you're my sort of terrible. So I'm okay with that. Yeah, anyone who can get any detail with airbrushes stains me. I freaking hate trying to get any detail out of them. We have only the finest terrible here. It comes from the terrible region of France. Okay, Amy, you're gonna have to shout yourself out, I'm afraid. It's either that or I have to put down the paintbrush and do it. And I don't want my tip getting dry. There we go. Emanog is a wonderful channel. I fully recommend going along and having a laugh. Kind of looks like those nubs there are meant to be like ears, but you know, shouldn't be in bone. It's like every Halloween you see kind of shops selling stuff like bone spiders. I'm pretty sure there shouldn't be anything there. Don't worry, you can't get the smell of Emanog actually through Twitch. You have to sign up to our OnlyFans for that. Which is a very different sort of witchy lesbian game. Smell-o-vision. Oh, it's grim. Do you know what's worse about that Emanog? People would buy it. I don't want to kink shame, but you know, some things out there I just can't understand. Only farts. I bet you if you go check for the domain name, it's probably already been sold. Someone's on Dragon's Den as we speak, trying to get to get together and get financing for it. Got this great idea. What's worse is the amount of investors they'll get. Sorry, no, I shouldn't be kink shaming. This is a safe space. Unless you're a Nazi, then get in the bin. I'm gonna say knock you. How much LL Cool J do I actually have to sing before I get a copyright infringement? Do I have to do it in little clips? I did not hear you doing a Sean Paul impression. I wish I would have. So you can see with some of these colours I'm trying to put on, I'm trying to put them on very sketchy. The primary reason for that is bone is not as smooth as you would imagine. Yeah, Bizzle, she did like a 20-minute concert of him though. Had full makeup, special effects, the full 9 yards. Am I painting off camera again? Got me muted on YouTube. Did they mute the whole video or just the one section? Still pretty funny. Yeah, Eminog is well known on the British grime scene. So she does all her best rapping. Hey, it's an ads. How you doing, ads? Ads is another streamer worth following. Shout out the ads. If only to make him paint more. Hi, Nick. I'm so glad you came to judge my fucking palette. This is textured, Nick. You wouldn't understand that because you're a wet palette user. Nick's got a great YouTube that you should follow. And he was into painting or just listening to a man relaxingly talk. He's got a very calming voice. Yeah, it is. This area here I actually use as a textured palette. And I'm not going to stop using it now. As a matter of fact, since it bothers you so much, Nick, we're going to add your name to the palette. There you go. Nick is right in the texture there. We'll see how long you last. Probably quite a good while. That's Nick's contribution to the show. So for anyone who's just joining us, we've been doing some freehand. So we freehanded on the skull there, and some not very anatomical bones down the side, and then we're just putting some highlights on these skulls on the corner to give them some definition. Is that in focus at all? Yeah, just to give them a bit more definition and make things pop up a little. I've got to go back in with a shade in between some of these. I just don't think you can see on the bottom one how it's actually got some actual indentation between it, and this one just seems to be too flat to actually build up any of that surface. So I'm just going to go in and manually put it in there. And how have I managed? Yeah, that's just an yeah. So we haven't got it to the stage. This is nearly dry enough to actually put our first layer of paint on it, first layer of shade on it. But once we've got that on, we'll actually go in and start adding some detail and refining it. But yeah, so that's what we've done for about the last 50 minutes now. Trying to use up all of the paint that I put on the palette. My palette, which we now forever known as Nick. Thank you, Ad. Thank you. I don't know how much longer I'll be keeping going because they're doing some building work outside and it's drifting closer to me. So here's where we left off with our urban mechs. So they're starting to get there. I'm not sure where to go with them next. I'm wondering about unifying the color of this. As you can see, some of them are definitely more pink, and some of them are darker purple than the other. I kind of like the pink. I want to. I might shade it down on this one at the back here. This one is definitely too purple and not enough pink. So I'm going to be looking at that, but I might save that, doing that now until Thursday. We might do a full day on Battle Mech and see if I can get another mech to actually paint up and go through that on the day. We don't leave them too long, although they are. I mean, I'd be happy enough to deploy them on the battlefield at the moment. I think they look nice enough, but I wouldn't want to. I want to just kind of finish them off. Yeah, I think the pink colors. It's nice and unique because it's not something you regularly see, particularly in things like BattleTech. It might break some people. They might become very sad about it, but well. Yeah, what's worse is you can have these here because of the awesome. Uh, so the awesome just makes the urban mechs look tiny as is. Then you compare the awesome to the Redemptor, and you're just yeah. But in game size, like or not quite real world, but the awesome is what like 5-6 stories tall. I think this thing is probably about 2 stories tall. The Redemptor is probably about 2 stories tall. But we're working on it. Our little awesomes. Have I got a Thunderbolt in my mech bay? I do not. I don't believe so anyway. We haven't got that much on standby at the moment. Hey, contrast Skeleton Horde. We're going to put this over our Bone White from Game Color. So far we're using Citadel Contrast, War Painter, and Game Color. We're all over the place. Yes, I still have my Marauder too. Bizzle's a big fan of his Marauder. I've still got my Marauder too. Actually, where have I put that next? I'm not taking them all out to show you today. I probably put them away. But yeah, I do have my Marauder 2, my Corsair, my King Crab. For some reason, at one stage, I was convinced that I had 2 King Crabs, but I don't. But one King Crab is fairly fine. Still a monstrous beast. So while it doesn't actually hurt if we go over the edges of the bone with this contrast paint, because it won't show up much on the black anyway. But we do want it to make sure we cover all the bone color on it, because it gives it that nice desaturated color, so then we don't have to worry too much about it. But there will be points where we come back. Nurgle is part of this universe, yeah. Nurgle is one of the 4 Chaos Gods who a lot of the Space Marines tend to fight. But one of the important things about the Warhammer 40k universe is there's not really any good guys. Send my best to Ro. She's a good egg. Yeah, that's the thing about Warhammer 40k. There's not a good guy faction. There's plenty of innocent people, but there's not a good guy faction. Is Ro going to start playing Sims? She's going to start streaming that, or is she just putting it in for her own enjoyment? I mean, how very dare she actually enjoy some gameplay? Must all be streamed. Yeah, so whichever kind of faction you pick has got more or less some sort of bad vibe to it. Some of them have done horrible things in the past, some of them are doing horrible things, some of them plan to do horrible things, some of them just are horrible things. Like, probably the ones with the least malice are probably the Tyranids. They're just this kind of all-consuming thing. They just want to eat. They're a cross between crossing. They're based on the Zerg, aren't they? From what's the name of that game? StarCraft. I think it's StarCraft. Yeah, I think they're based on the Zerg from StarCraft. Yeah. See, Nick, that's why I'm playing Legion of the Damned, because they're dead Space Marines. But then I also have a bunch of Chaos, so, there's definitely no innocence. No innocent models you can put on the tabletop. As I said, there's plenty of civilians around places who just get a bad deal, but there's no real innocence to the universe. Just get some of those striations in there to make it look a bit more authentic. It's a bit more authentic in this completely made up world that I stream into. So what are we thinking, folks? Like, coming together? Some progress has been made. Funny enough, doing something like skulls always takes me a lot longer than it would to do something like the flames, because the flames are really abstract. So you can do the flames any way you want. When you're doing something like a skull, you're trying to actually match something in. That is much harder. Thank you, Meatball. Yeah, so we're going to come back in with some black just around the corner of these. Kind of tidy up a few of these. Try and make it a bit more symmetrical when we could look at it straight on. It's a bit harder to see how things line up then. But yeah, so I'm going to let that dry before I keep poking at it. One of the tricks with contrast paints is you need to let it dry and get an even coat. If you actually start trying to move it around again or trying to paint another layer in, you can actually pull that layer of paint off, and then you're left crying because it kind of pulls it off. Hey, welcome back, Corvus. The Dark Tide patch has just dropped. Is that the new Carnival? All the new weapons and such? Don't worry, Nick. You're still in the palette. Gonna have to put a picture of that up on Instagram and tag Nick in. So we've got lots of nice flat spaces to do some flames. Because flames are like a whole chunk of the paint job for this. Alright, Corvus, enjoy Darktide. I'll speak to you later, buddy. I'm sure you'll drop me a video link of what's going on. If you want to stream it, we'll happily raid you. Yeah, so we got lots of empty real estate that we haven't actually done anything on. You always endure, Nick. No one can stop you. But I think for the moment we're going to get some silver paint on this because it's a bit drab at the moment. You purge those heretics. So we're just going to use some Citadel Layer Ironbreaker to do some of the metallics. And the reason I'm only bothering with this is because I'm going to darken it up. Probably just be cheap, or not even so much cheap as quick, and use some of a panel line accent color, which is meant to just do panel lining, but it also just works really well as a wash. Generally, it can come off a bit shiny, but then I tend to hit mine with a matte varnish. I tend to matte varnish all my minis, so it doesn't prove to be too detrimental then at that stage. Oh, you see that? That's not shaking up much at all. I need one of those paint mixers. Oh, and for people who are asking me, I have started an Amazon wish list. I just haven't actually put it on the page yet. We'll drop it up there at some stage. There's zero rush and zero need to do any of that sort of stuff, much like bits and follows and subs and all that sort of thing. Don't worry about that. You just come along and enjoy, and that's the main thing. It's one of the 2 rules of the page. Right. So we've got some kind of joints in this that need to be metallic, I feel. And then there's bits of the sentinel that's been cut up and put on the base that will need doing as well. And then there's some various different pipes and things like that we'll get some details on. So is anyone working on anything themselves at the moment? I don't mean directly now, just in general. Any Instagram accounts I should be checking out? I know both Ads and Nick are on Instagram. I was very quiet, was I? Okay, so I was saying, is there any Instagram accounts I need to check out? Yeah, you have to check Ads' his stories. That's the only place he seems to update. We should all give him grief about it. He's a terrible trash human being. He needs to update all his social medias because they're very important, more important than everything else. Nick is just kind of running along there with his 7 dreadnoughts. Here, I'm still working on this one. But Nick's apparently got 7 on the go. Fair play. Um, he's doing a massive diorama, which will make me sad because it's going to permanently entomb 7 dreadnoughts that will never fight the field of battle again. But in the end, it's going to look really pretty. So yeah, ups and downs. Yeah, see, Nick has added something to his Instagram. And Bizzle, I hope you find the inspiration soon. It can be very fleeting. When it strikes, you tend to run with it. And you have done some lovely bits and pieces. I find people just need to kind of have a little spot where they can do their painting or their gaming and just get a little break from the world. Just relax and forget things for a bit. I mean, I could just shout at you until you do it, if that helps. Not sure it will, but Yeah, motivation can be tough. I'm finding this to be quite helpful doing the stream because I know I've got something to do and I've got progress I can make. I can chat to people at the same time. So, by all means, if you don't want to chat and you just want to sit there and paint a model and listen in, feel free. If that helps, I am more than glad to be giving that sort of inspiration. So, I roughly slap on some silver paints. Hey, there's Nick's Instagram. Well worth a follow. It's got links to his YouTubes. He does some lovely work. One thing you have to know about Nick is he's too nice as a judge for painting competitions. And he needs to have me around to be a dickhead. Oh, our camera just died. It should be coming back on there. Jeez, my camera didn't like that Nick comment for sure. Just crapped out altogether. Make sure to actually paint on camera, not just off random parts of the screen. Just an avid professional here. So I don't know if I have the patience to do the sort of work that Ads and Nick do on their videos, where they actually produce them, put some effort into them. I think I can just about manage live streaming and waffling at people. That's where my limit goes. Ads, can I send all the stream files to you and you just turn it into an amazing video for me? Is that a possibility? Yeah, well, metal music does solve a lot of things. Sad? Put on some metal music. Happy? Put on some metal music. Worried about the fate of the universe? Put on some metal music. Not everyone in here is a painter or builder. But yeah, I mean, I suppose like kind of attracts like. And you're working on stuff, Meatball, so it's going to be interesting to see what you do. What are you actually working on at the moment? You said you were just getting into these things. So it was nice to know what people's kind of first project are and kind of what drew you to that project. Gundam's nice. I have a few Gundams, but I find building Gundams is more interesting than actually owning Gundams because I've got no reference point to them then after that. But I think you're a good painter. I think a lot of people downplay their own painting competition, painting standard, not competition. Like I do to myself. I firmly know where I stand on painting, but I think I'm a good painter. I'm not going to be win competitions, but I don't do this to win competitions. Very few models do I kind of sit back and go, I'm going to really work on this just the best of my abilities. But I like a lot of the work I put out. If I didn't like it, I probably wouldn't show it to anybody. But you always learn something from it. And I've always liked the work that you've put out, Bizzle. And you know me, I would tell you if I didn't, and I would say what you could possibly do to help improve it. Get some more shine on that. Then you can't see it all because we close it. Yeah, I only have a couple of. I think I have 3 Gundams in total. Can't remember the name of most of them. But I do have a Zaku Mark II, which I'm really fond of. Pretty sure it's called a Zaku. Yeah, I definitely recommend you go hang out with ads and row and do some painting. You'd be surprised at what you can pick up in person as well. Back in '86, that is neither here nor there. Say the Gundam kits back from '86 were slightly different. Yeah, I don't regularly get to paint in the presence of people. This is the closest I've come to it, really. Yeah, there's people in this chat that I know from real life. There's people I've never met before. And there's people I've never even talked to before. It's nice to be able to that we can all chat here. It's all shared experiences because we all started somewhere. People who win Golden Demons started off putting blobs on miniatures, 2 inches thick paint. Do you know, I didn't apply glue on any of my Gundams when I did them. Didn't feel like, didn't seem to need it. I'll have to do one of those stream together jobs ads where we're both painting. Put in challenges like painting left-handed or something. Don't worry, I'm sure the people watching can come up with much worse challenges than just having to paint left-handed. Drink your paint water. Oh yeah, there's some option to stream together on this thing. Well, what about the idea of painting a marine left-handed at? Really drive you over the edge. Okay, so I think that's where we're going to actually leave it today. So I want to wait for things to dry there before I put on the next coats. Don't want to be rushing things for the sake of rushing things. I need to some silver. I need to change up my paint. It's going to have flecks of silver paint in it. Backward. Who are we going to rate today? Oh, thanking you, ads. Oh, thanking you. Yeah, starting to get there. Who's on that we think we should rate today? Has anybody got any preferences? Move all these out of the way so I can actually get to the keyboard. Thank you all for coming along. Always a pleasure to talk to you, Bizzle. I will actually be speaking to you tonight, thankfully. I think my thumb didn't get off too bad off this one. Thumb paint check. It's not too bad, right? Who are we going to raid? Does anyone have someone we can raid? We don't want to raid somebody with 1,000 followers because there's not really much point in that, is there? We could raid Gus the Hut again. Nice to meet you, meatball. Ads, I'm afraid I don't think that's currently working at the moment. Hopefully I'll get that working for next time, and we should hopefully be able to redeem you in points and get that sorted. So I think we're just going to raid Gus the Hut. We raided him before, and he was actually good fun. It should be a fun sound effect when I get it working. Okay, listen. Thank you all for coming along. It's an absolute pleasure. And I will hopefully speak to you all soon. Take care, folks. Let's see if we can go raiding. Raid.